We have another day of Jets media OTAs to get into, plenty of storylines, including a potential return, Robert Saleh sending a shot across the bow, and Breece Hall comeback, and why we should start buying some stock. We'll get into all of it and your fan interaction coming up here tonight on the show, baby. Zoinks! It is unequivocally the Super Bowl for New York Jet fans.
Field Yates, baby. Field gosh darn Yates. Let's bring him on the show.
Come on, people. Connor Rogers is joining the show. What's up, Connor? But Trevor gosh darn Sycamore, baby, for me, personally, my favorite New York Jet of all time.
Wow, it's great to be on. What an intro that was right there.
Paul, nobody does an intro like you, man.
Paul, you give the best intro of literally any podcast that I've ever seen.
I'm gonna lose my gosh darn bananas.
Hey everybody, my name is Paul Liston Jr., a.k.a. Boy Green. I'm the New York Jets digital reporter for Heavy.com. We got a fun show for you guys tonight. A couple of quick notes. First off, there's no Boy Green or Buffalo show tonight. There's no Boy Green or Buffalo show last week. I don't know if Buffalo's announced this yet, so I feel bad if I'm kind of breaking that. But Buffalo had a little girl, so he's got fatherly duties to get to. So we'll be having that show back next week, 9 o'clock here on YouTube. And, of course, where we're streaming heavy on Jets and my Twitter page at BoyGreen25 as well. So, number one, wanted to get that out the way. Number two, guys, in case you missed it, I'm going to get a little sentimental here to start the program tonight here on a Wednesday. We hit 1 million views on YouTube this week, and I just have to say that's wild. We started this channel in September of 2020, what ended up being the final season of Adam Gase and a 2-14 year, which was a disaster. Although in the middle of it, we're like Trevor Lawrence and then Zach Wilson. So it was a fun ride, but it's unbelievable to think in essentially 3 years' time, a little less than that we've already hit 1 million views on YouTube, and it's thanks to each and every one of you. So if you guys are new to the channel or old to the channel, whichever the case, the free way to contribute every single video is by smashing that like button and hitting subscribe down below. We're getting closer and closer to 5,000 subs, which is unbelievable. We're about 100 subscribers away the last time I checked, so that was earlier today. So we're somewhere in that ballpark, so appreciate it if you guys can do that. We have a Jets OTA media practice to recap, plenty of storylines to get into, and, of course, all of your questions and comments. This is a show by the people for the people. Feel free to get involved. We'll be on for about an hour or so, so we'll see what happens. Let's introduce a couple of people before we get started. Scott, Boy Green, LFG, baby. Yes, sir. Welcome to the show. Justin, heck yeah, baby. Man Green. There is a guy out there on like Twitter or something. He's like a diehard fan, maybe. And I've seen him on Facebook too, Man Green. So apparently a diehard fan there. Really appreciate it. Thank you. Justin, congratulations. Thank you. It's awesome. 1 million views. And then Mojo Jets. I love that handle. That's beautiful. $1 million. I wish, but not really. But still, I like the cut of the jib there. We're going to get to the Kwon story to kick off the show. I think that's a great place. Red John, everybody in here, welcome. Yeah, so I'm just going to play you a clip. So obviously, Quan Alexander, for those who don't know, is still a free agent. Okay, he's still a free agent in the NFL world. Today is May 31st. Tomorrow is June 1st. So he's still a free agent. He's still hanging out in the mix. A similar story kind of played out last year. He didn't sign with the Jets till the end of July, and I don't think it became official by the NFL standards till like August 1st or 2nd. So he's used to kind of hanging around. I thought he would get a better serving because he's coming off a career year. He appeared in all 17 games. It's the first time he had a fully healthy season since 2016. So I really thought Quan, was going to get a nice pay bump. I didn't think he was going to be one of the first free agents signed. I didn't think we were going to go that far, but I thought Quan was going to get a nice payday for himself and make that happen. So with that being said, let's roll the footage. I am not a, I enjoy hip hop, but I'm no hip hop expert. But Quan Alexander, here it is on my Twitter account. You guys can also see it on Quan's Instagram if you'd like. But I know a lot of people aren't on Instagram, so here it is on Twitter. Quan Alexander released this little hype workout video. We're going to watch a little bit of it here, and you'll notice a couple of things. First off, in the video, Quan's wearing green cleats. You'll hear the music underneath, which is why I say I'm not a hip-hop expert, but it's an original song that Quan created during his free time. It has some references to the Jets, and you'll notice in the video, he's wearing a Joe Namath t-shirt, which, by the way, a bunch of Jet birthdays rapid fire. Joe Namath, happy 80th, buddy. Great story by Rich Samedi if you guys didn't see it on ESPN, where he flew down to hang out with Namath for a day. That's a really cool story. So happy birthday to Joe Namath. Happy birthday to Breece Hall. Happy birthday to Leger Duzable. Happy birthday to Connie Carberg, the first female scout in NFL history. So many Jet birthdays, and I'm sure I missed a few too. It's a crazy birthday fest. But anywho, here's the video. Quan released this tonight. A lot of Jet references in there. Let's watch some of the footage here. Again, you guys can also check this out on my Twitter account, originally from Quan's Instagram. Here we go.
Let's talk about getting these millions. Fuck niggas and they feelings. Don't like niggas' opinions. Grew up with gorillas and niggas who knew how to get it. Respected none but the game. Now got money, got spent it. Louis V out on my neck. Body come with
I
baguette.
apologize
for New York City.
all the
All she know is
inappropriate language. I'll mute that as we're watching this here, so you guys can check out the full footage. But you'll see in this like workout video he's doing. So I apologize for some of the inappropriate language there for all of our range of audience. But you see he's in the Joe Namath t-shirt. He's in the green cleats. He has the references to Jet songs. And like I've sent out a tweet before. He had another tweet where he's teasing this song that was being released. And I shared similar notes like, wow, there's Jet references in there. And he retweeted it. So does it mean something? Nothing? Are we reaching? I've got absolutely no idea. But interesting nonetheless. It seems like he really wants to be on the Jets. I don't know if it is whatever the word is. I don't know if the feelings are reciprocated. Joe Douglas is kind of lukewarm when asked about it after the draft, like, hey, would you be interested? And he kind of went like, we're interested in anybody. So I don't know if that really says anything or nothing or God knows what, because the Jets obviously have their two starters. You have C.J. Mosley and Quincy Williams, who signed the big deal during the offseason. The spot that's up for grabs, that third linebacker spot, the Jets run the 4-3 scheme, so there is that third linebacker on the field. Last year, Quan appeared in all 17 games, made 12 starts in those 17. So there's a relatively key cog in terms of injury insurance, of course, to the top two guys and a flag bearer and all those things. But he got a lot of action on the football field. Who's battling for those spots? I mean, there's just, without Quan, obviously, in the mix, he's a free agent. There's a lot of names in the mix. Jamian Sherwood, Hamza Nasruddin, Chaz Surratt, Zaire Barnes, who was just drafted this year. But the commonality among all these names is a lot of unproven, a lot of inexperience. So, Robert Saleh, who has, of course, cut his teeth as a linebacker whisperer, like that sort of stuff, if you're going to believe in anybody that they're going to be able to make that happen, then those are the things that are going to go on. I see people saying 4-2-5 scheme. Guys, it's a 4-3. That's what they run. It is a multiple fronts. They use a lot of different things, but it is a 4-3 scheme at its heart. So just to share that with everybody, there are parts of the scheme where they introduce other corners on the field. There are other safeties, of course. You have perhaps the best cornerback group in the NFL with Sauce Gardner, Michael Carter II, and you also have, of course, DJ Reed on the other side. So sometimes you have the three corners and the two safeties on the field, and then there is a level of the 4-2-5, but it is a 4-3 scheme. So again, those linebackers get on the field pretty often. Again, Quan making 12 of those 17 starts. But again, Robert Saleh is a linebacker whisperer. So the thing that helps him, in theory, of course, is that he can make chicken salad out of chicken you-know-what. So maybe it's not as important if it's a Zaire Barnes, Hamza, or whatever as being that third guy. But it gets a lot more important if CJ or Quincy gets injured, because all of a sudden it's a disaster. If CJ or Quincy gets injured, then instead of having one of those guys as a peripheral option at linebacker, all of a sudden they become a full-time starter, and that's where things get funky. There is no proven experience beyond the top two that you feel great about. So that scares me a little bit. And what are we talking here? Quan signed for somewhere in the ballpark of 1.2 and change in terms of his contract last year. And I think he deserves a pay raise, of course. Double it. Make it, 2.2, 2.3, 2.4, and then boom, bring him back. I think he's a guy that's an emotional leader for the team. I think that's really important. I think it provides you some of that experience It provides you some of that experience in terms of, if a guy goes down, you're able to bring one of those in. That would make me just feel a lot better about it. Again, maybe they just roll with some of these youngsters and they figure it out, but we'll see what happens. I see Snowball coming in here. How do you prove yourself without experience? I mean, it's the end-all chicken egg thing in terms of the job, where you say, well, I can't get a job without the experience, and I don't have the experience to get the job. So maybe, to your point, Snowball, that's what the Jets do. They kind of throw their hands up and say, hey, let's throw these kids into the flames, and maybe one of them bursts out, and you're like, wow, even better than we thought. Because all of them are day 3 dart throws. Jamian, Hamza, Zaire Barnes, even Chaz Surratt, who was a higher pick, was cut by the Vikings. So take that for what you will. So you're going to have a lot of those different opportunities. We'll see. Personally, I bring Quan back. Robert Saleh said at the beginning of the offseason that he wanted to run it back with this defense. And why wouldn't you try to bring back Quan if you could? So we'll see with that in terms of the money. Talking Jets with Tico joining us here on YouTube. Quan, I saw was wanting in $5+ million a year range for a guy who only played 30-ish% of the snaps. I don't think it's worth it. Sure would look great in his limited snaps, and I think he's ready. I'm not willing to make any long range thing about Sherwood or anybody. He looked great in limited snaps. Okay, anyone can look good in a very few amount of snaps. Didn't play a lot. So that one I kind of push aside. But again, maybe one of them pops. In terms of your 30-ish% of the snaps, again, I don't think you're paying for the third linebacker. Oh, thank goodness we have him. Again, I think you're paying for what we call, in Family Guy, volcano insurance. Like, how likely is a volcano to explode and destroy your house? Probably minimally, but I guess there's a chance that, a +0 chance that a volcano does explode and destroy your house. I want the volcano insurance. I want the insurance to protect the New York Jets because they didn't really have a lot of injuries on defense last year. They had a ton, of course, on offense with the offensive line getting ravaged. If, Lady Luck balances things out, we may get a couple of injuries on defense we didn't get last year, and that's why I want to insure for that possibility. The $5+ million is a dramatic jump that obviously he's not going to get. Look, we're in late May. By the time this show is over, we're going to be very close to June. He's obviously not getting that kind of payday in my mind. I don't see it happening. He's still available. So not just the Jets, but 31 other teams said, no, we're good. So that means he's going to, if he got a deal he would have wanted, you know what? He would have already been signed by now. The fact that he isn't, he's going to hang around, I'm sure, till maybe we get to training camp, because a big thing we have coming up is mandatory minicamp for the Jets in about 2 weeks. Maybe he wants to skip all that. That's what he skipped initially way back when, although the Jets are going to be opening up training camp a little bit earlier because of the Hall of Fame game. So it'll probably be around July 16th, 17th range, something like that. Maybe that's out already. I don't know off the top of my head, but that's what's going to be coming up here. So I don't think he's getting the $5 million a year. I haven't seen that personally, Tigo. So wherever you saw that, you saw that. But we'll see what happens from that perspective. Vincenzo joining us. Boy Green, with June 1st being tomorrow, you think the Jets make a move to upgrade at any particular position? I'll say this, Vincenzo, right off the top. The Jets have $24 million in available cap space. That is third most, according to Over the Cap. The Jets, of course, made a restructure earlier today. There was Jordan Whitehead. Now, that solves or serves a couple of purposes. Number one, that obviously created cap space for the Jets this year. And simultaneously, it secured Jordan Whitehead's roster spot. There's been some speculation out there by both reporters like Zach Rosenblatt. I wrote a piece about it for Heavy on Jets earlier today. You guys can check that out. But there's been speculation both from fans and media that the Jets at some point could hit the eject button of Jordan Whitehead. They would have saved about $7 million in change, and then thus use that to go chase Budda Baker, go use that to chase Kevin Byard or whoever. But now with this restructure, that's nearly impossible because the dead cap hit now with this new restructure would be $8+ million, so non-existent. And then they added void years, so no matter what, he's going to be a 3.3 dead cap hit next year. And technically, this is the last year of the deal. The void years are just for cap purposes only. So it's a long way of answering your question here. That the big move, if there's going to be one made, you would have thought would be DeAndre Hopkins, because that is a guy who's suddenly available that you probably didn't expect. However, we did a video on it already earlier. We could talk about this on the show. I'm more than willing to answer your fan questions about it. The Jets and Robert Saleh came out and basically said, nah, we're good. We love our wide receiver group. Now, personally, I don't think it makes any sense. If you chased OBJ, you would chase Hopkins. Hopkins has been a better player both historically and recently over Odell Beckham Jr. If you consider a 3-year sample size, and I have it in my article, that's also for Heavy on Jets earlier today. DeAndre Hopkins annihilates OBJ in every major category. They're basically the same age. Hopkins is a little older. They basically came in the year at the same time. Hopkins a year earlier. So you consider all those factoids. That would have been a big money thing that would have made sense in theory if the Jets chased OBJ. So Robert, this is just the thing that kind of bothers me a little bit. Robert Saleh came out and said that we love our receiver group. Well, obviously you don't, because you went as far as to almost sign OBJ. Sauce Gardner, your cornerback, did an interview with Connor Orr of Sports Illustrated, said OBJ was picking out his number. That's how close this thing was to happening. Another article came out. It was either Jeremy Fowler, Rich Cimini, or some ESPN combination said, while the Ravens offer was crazy, the Jets were a lot closer to the crazy than people realized. So they were like all in on getting OBJ. So if you were all in on getting OBJ, if a player who's better by every major category became available, why wouldn't you at least kick the tires? So again, I'm a little confused. I'm a little taken back by the fact that the Jets were so willing to be all in on OBJ, but not all in on DeAndre. Hopefully they know something I don't. Like there's some character flaw that we're all unaware of, maybe. And that makes me feel better because I don't want to bring that in. But man, you better be right, because if the Jets don't pursue Hopkins, which publicly they said they're not going to, the Chiefs, the Bills, those are the two teams that, according to Albert Breer, were talking trade with the Arizona Cardinals. Obviously that didn't happen, but now that he's a free agent, I would imagine both of those two teams are like, we'll kick the tires. New England, all these other teams, like other people are going to be pursuing this. And if you don't, they will, and you'll be facing off against that player. So just want to throw that out there. So Hopkins would have made sense to your question, Vincenzo, but doesn't sound like it. And then we see this restructured Jordan Whitehead. That keeps him on the team. You traded for Chuck Clark, so you're probably not going after a crazy safety like Kevin Byard or God knows who. So you think about the potential splurge options. Zoinks. The only thing I can think of is the Quinnen Williams deal. And you obviously having a lot of cap space this year gives you some flexibility to eat a bunch of signing bonus cap hit now and then figure out some of the stuff later. That seems to be the big thing for me personally of what's going to happen. So Quinnen thing seems to me more than sexy outside deal at this point, based on everything that we're hearing, Vincenzo. Guys, keep the questions coming. Like I said, make sure if you're watching live or after the fact, like the video, hit subscribe down below for some more sexy New York Jets content. Let me get a sip here. It's hot as hell in this house. I'm just going to be honest, but here we go. Glacial freeze, by the way, is the choice. Oh, yeah, baby. So here we go. And we'll also get to the rest of our headlines here of things to get into. The comments are blowing up. Also, guys, if you want to support the show beyond the free manner, feel free to do so with the YouTube Super Chat feature. You guarantee that you get your question or comment answered on the program, and it helps support the show, helps us keep the lights on, which, by the way, we need more lights in this room, actually, the more I think about it when we're recording this late at night. Zachary, I saw this one earlier. Just want to give a shout out. Yeah, Jeremy Ruckert looked good today, and again, there's been some buzz. We'll see. Again, he kind of seems buried with Tyler Conklin and CG Uzama, but maybe he kind of carves out a role for himself. I certainly see it in 2024, but earlier than that may be difficult. But maybe he's just so talented they get him on the field. Do we know how much the Steelers offered for Quan? We do not. But I heard from Steelers people, if Quan left, which obviously he did, without a deal, that was likely kaput. That the Steelers were going to go making a pitch, and if he didn't, see ya. And it was see ya so far. So that's what I heard, but take that for what you will. But I did not hear specifics on contract offer. Let's keep going here. I see that we talked about a little bit about this earlier. Sherwood Nasruddin, when do they get their chance? Maybe never. I mean, that happens in the NFL. Sometimes, though, guys, remember injuries, obviously, both for, I think it was Sherwood and Nasruddin. I think both got banged up. So that kind of sucks too. So that's just the NFL. Sometimes you never get that opportunity. Let's go to this from Dane on our Facebook page. Boyd Green, it's time we turn all of the misery, suffering, and torture we had to go through upside down and on its head. We are long overdue for a magical season now with the quarterback finally. And I'm glad that you brought this up. Quick shout out to Aaron Rodgers, by the way, because we had the calf thing that people went crazy for last week. The full expectation is he is expected to be a full practice participant next week. He was a limited participant today. You know, he was airing it out, which was nice to see, not in an official practice manner. But he's thrown around. He looks good. Not serious at all. Seems great news there. But to your point, Dane, I will say an underrated thing that I'm really looking forward to is, so again, I mentioned to you guys, I started this show, and this show is kind of like this amoeba, right? I have guests on the show. I do live streams. We do random videos, like earlier where I did a quick take on Hopkins for like 10 minutes. So there's a lot of different layers to this program. But I'll tell you, after every Jets game, we do a post-game live show, normally about an hour after the show, or excuse me, hour after the game, which is going to be pretty late for these primetime games, but we'll suck it up. When we're talking about that kind of stuff, over the last 3 years, I haven't been able to do a lot of intense post-game shows. What I mean by that is, think about it. We're talking draft. We're talking, man, maybe next year. Like, there hasn't been a lot of like, man, in the third quarter with 15 minutes or 12 minutes on the clock, this happened. So there hasn't been a lot of that intense breakdown. So I'm looking forward more to that. Look at the power rankings. The Jets are 3 games out of the playoffs or whatever. I'm looking forward to that portion of the exam that, quite frankly, we haven't been able to explore or pontificate on this show because, well, the Jets haven't been in those conversations. I mean, last year, of course, they started out 6-3, so there's a little bit. But I mean, this year, with the expectations and everything, it should be a lot of fun. So I am fully looking forward to all that. That's a great point, Dane. Great point. Yeah, again, I see the Kwon criticism on the song. Again, I prefer his action on the football field as opposed to the mic, but you know, different strokes. Different strokes, that's for sure. I see Ronald in here. Tough cuts on the offensive line, defensive line. Who's going to go? It's impossible to say right now, but doing a quick, look at the Jets roster here. And we got a 90-man roster right now. We're going to have to get down to a 53. The Jets keep in between 9 and 11 defensive linemen, which makes it tough. Ah, boy. I'm trying to think of like tough names that could be moved. Bryce Huff, they talked about as a trade guy. I think that would be crazy to get rid of a guy like Bryce Huff. So hopefully they don't. So I'm not really seeing anyone too crazy on the defensive line that I could expect to be let go. I'm looking at the roster here. Offensive line, they have really good depth at a lot of these spots, which is nice. They just signed Yadni Kajust, the former Patriots offensive lineman, a West Virginia product. They got Christian Cologne, who's very nice. Max Mitchell's coming back. Wes Schweitzer as well. And they have some of the positions listed separately, tackles to guards. Mackay, Dwayne, we'll get into them. Billy Turner, Carter Warren. Man, yeah, you are right. There are a lot of names here they're going to have to filter through. We're just going to need more time. I don't know if I can answer that blanket 53-man speculation yet. There's more to be determined. Camp will be interesting to try to figure out some of this mandatory mini camp. But camp really in general, because it's hard, because we're not getting that trench play in OTAs in this phase of the program. We're not getting hog mollies going against each other in trench warfare. It's kind of impossible to say. I don't mean to cop out of your question, Ronald. We just need more time, preseason games, and a lot of that action. Dark Soldier crew here on the program. Thank you very much. Yeah, let's dive into a couple more things here. So I want to play this one. This was another clip from earlier today that I want to get into. There's, of course, the Breece Hall positivity. We'll get into that here in just a moment. But one of the things I wanted to get into is a potential shot by Robert Saleh in the Mekhi Becton Dwayne Brown thing. Now, he didn't mention Mekhi Becton by name per se, but still, what he said was kind of, So he was asked about Dwayne Brown, who they convinced the Jets to come back for his 17th NFL season. Unbelievable for Dwayne Brown. And he went on a little bit of a rant about how much he loves Dwayne Brown, but he made some interesting comments like, he doesn't believe he's entitled to anything. I want you guys to listen to these because I had a few takes on it, but I want to hear you guys. Let's roll the footage.
Get Dwayne back. I know it wasn't a guarantee at the end of the season.
Oh yeah, he. You guys know I love Dwayne. He won the first annual Selfless Warrior Award for the team in terms of just what he sacrificed. Like I said last year, his money was guaranteed. Didn't have to play it down, and his money was guaranteed, and he didn't have to subject his body to what he did. And but he stepped on there. He stepped on the field, played as many games as he possibly could with torn rotator cuffs, and did a really nice job. So he's going to fight for it. He He doesn't believe he's entitled to anything. He believes he's got to earn everything. And there's a reason why he's played for so long and has had so much success. And I mean, the guy's still, I mean, look at him. He's a brick house. I mean, he can still play as many years as he's willing to play.
Right.
Again, the thing that I'm curious of you, the fans, okay, as we're talking about this, I think there's a lot of ways to interpret what Robert Saleh said. Let's go with the blunt. Mekhi Becton came out and said, I am a left tackle on social media. He was adamant about it in the Newsday interview with Bob Glauber. Again, did a wonderful job. Hey, I'm a left tackle, baby. I'm not a right tackle. Again, I don't know if he said he was entitled to it, but he just said, like, hey, man, I'm the left tackle. You have Dwayne Brown, and unabated, Robert Saleh says, hey, he doesn't believe he's entitled to anything. He's going to go earn it. And, like, on one hand, it kind of felt like a shot across the bow to Mekhi, saying, hey, man, he's earning it. Everyone earns it around here. Maybe a shot there. I didn't phrase it that way on social. I just thought, maybe. Number two, I thought was interesting, is that, so here's the conundrum the Jets are in, and really it's a conundrum because someone's going to get effed one way or the other. So Mekhi wants to play left tackle, obviously. He does not want to play right tackle. But, and here's the other conundrum, right? Dwayne Brown has only played left tackle his entire career in the NFL. Mekhi, there's not really enough of a sample size, but he came in, of course, with the 11th overall pick as the Jets' blindside protector that's been injured the last 2 years. He's played 48 snaps, 2 years. I mean, so you have two guys. Mekhi did play right tackle in college a little bit, but so you have two guys that want to play left tackle. Robert Saleh said he wants to play the best 5 offensive linemen on the field, regardless of position. If that's true, Robert Saleh ain't bullshitting us, then that means Dwayne Brown at left, Mekhi at right, because Dwayne has never played right. So are you going to teach an old dog new tricks in year 17? Say, hey, Dwayne, slap on the ass, time to jump over to the right side. Probably not, especially with how much the Jets freaking love and drool over Dwayne Brown. They don't love and drool over Mekhi Becton. They've given him a lot of praise and compliments for what he's done this offseason, but he definitely doesn't have the coaching staff. He hasn't curried favor with the coaching staff, especially since in that Newsday interview, if we're being honest, he said my relationship is with the coaching staff, and then he also blamed them for his injury. Again, some different coaches, no more John Benton, no more Mike LaFleur, but I mean, he blamed the coaching staff, which Robert Saleh is still a part of, which Robert Saleh is the CEO of the whole group. So it's a shot at Robert Saleh, like, up yours, pal. Thanks for getting me injured, you piece of garbage. So I don't know, man. To me, it almost seems inevitable that Dwayne will be the left and Mekhi will be the right. Now, I don't know how happy Mekhi Becton's going to be with that reality, but I just don't. If Robert Saleh is playing the best 5, Dwayne Brown as a left and Mekhi Becton as a right is better than Mekhi Becton and Billy Turner, Max Mitchell. I mean, whoever. It's not going to be Dwayne. He's not playing right. So that's where we get into the funky territory of if Saleh is saying Dwayne has to earn it, and if he loses, okay, he's our really expensive backup left tackle. If that really happens, I'm going to give a major tip of the cap to the coaching staff and everybody that the Jets convinced Dwayne Brown to come back. They didn't promise him anything and said, hey, let's roll the ball out, see who wins. And that would be very interesting. But to me, I think it's inevitable. Mekhi's going to be pissed because they're going to put him at right, because that's what happened last year. In the offseason, they pranced around. I don't know. We'll see what happens. I don't know. Then training camp rolled around. They're like, yeah, he's a right tackle. George Fantz left. And then, of course, injuries happen, and they're doing all kinds of musical chairs. But I don't know, man. That's my take. I'm curious your guys' thoughts on the Mekhi Becton, Dwayne Brown situation. But I think it's pretty black and white there. Pretty black and white, I would say. Let's see. Devontae Adams rumors. Yeah, maybe we'll see. That would be surprising. Okay, I see this too. So I see Scott in here. We have the corners to handle D-Hop. As we'll bounce around on a few topics. I'm not saying, like, okay, we have really good corners. Arguably the best cornerback group in the NFL. Mike Clay ranked them number 2 behind the Miami Dolphins. Why would you want your competition to get better, though? Like, okay, I'm confident in the defense. I'm confident in the cornerback group, but that doesn't mean I want Josh Allen to get Megatron. I'm not saying that's what DeAndre Hopkins is, but do you get my point? Why would we want the Bills to get stronger? Why would we want the Chiefs to get stronger? If Hopkins ain't coming to the Jets, then go over to the NFC. I don't want Hopkins here. He's a beast. He's a freaking beast. Now, he's gotten injured and he's had some of those issues, but he's a freak. He's a 5-time Pro Bowl, like 6-time All-Pro with some of that in the first team, some of that in the second team. He's a freak of nature, man. He has like over 11,000 career receiving yards. People just kind of like arrogant Jet fans, which I never thought I would say, but arrogant Jet fans go, we got the corners. Like, okay, it's cool to have that confidence if they ultimately sign that guy. Like, okay, roll it out. I'm not scared, but why would I want to advocate? Yeah, sure. Hopkins, join the Bills, join the Bengals. Hell no, please don't. Join the Lions, join the Cowboys, join the Panthers, join anywhere else. I don't want to see your ass. Hell no. Go to the NFC. I do not want the AFC getting better. That's why I think, of course, Hopkins could help the Jets. The Jets pursued OBJ. They should think about pursuing Hopkins, number one. Number two, if you don't, your competition is going to get him. And that's where I'm like, you better be pretty sure that you think he's washed or a terrible teammate or whatever else the Jets apparently think. You better hope that's right, because if not, Hopkins is going to give it to your ass in some important game. That's what I think. So, I don't know, man. You better be right. Better be right. That's all I'm saying. What about Mike Evans? I've heard that name brought up. And again, I think it makes – I'm not a Tampa Bay person, obviously. Jets guy. I think it makes a lot of sense. Tampa is going to be a dumpster fire. Now, the NFC sucks, so maybe there's a path that I'm not realizing. But Kyle Trask and Baker Mayfield, I mean, come on. Like, so if I'm Mike Evans and I'm entering the last year of my deal, which he is, do I want to place it with some garbage, trash-ass quarterback room? Or do I want to be traded to a contender where I'm playing with some star quarterback? And if I'm Mike Evans, like kind of bet on myself, play with Aaron Rodgers in this made-up scenario and light it up and then go get paid a bag of money. If you're the Jets, if you're as all in as you say, which the Jets say they are, get Mike Evans for a 1-year deal. The projection article we had a while back said the Buccaneers would pay some of the money. Phenomenal. And then you make that trade and you bring in a superstar guy and you just freaking make a chase, you make a run. So I'd be open to it. I think the Buccaneers should be open to it. If they're honest with themselves, they're like, hey, we're not winning the Super Bowl this year, so might as well get something for Evans because we could lose him for nothing. Like, if they're being honest with themselves, that's a deal that could happen. I don't know, though. We'll see. But interesting question, David. Chicken Man Porto, how you doing, Boy Green? Welcome to the show, brother. Loyal, long-time viewer, listener of the show. Yes, good to see me back in the saddle. Appreciate it. Yeah, there's been some, again, we're going to get a more consistent schedule moving forward, guys. So we'll try to keep you posted. I know this live stream, the notification was only up for like 20 minutes before he hopped on. So we'll try to be more consistent with you guys in the future. Let's go. Oh, we got Anthony here. Hey, Paul. Appreciate all your hard work, brother. Appreciate it. Congrats on the mill. Man, I hope Quan comes back. That'd be great. Again, fan favorite. He's going to be relatively cheap. And again, gives you some injury insurance. So that would be amazing. So yes, let's will it into existence. I love it. Ooh, I love that one from Gator. For the money, I'd rather bring in Fournette as a running back insurance. I don't think it would be if it was him or Quan, if that's what you're saying. I think they'd have more than enough money to do both. Fournette, of course, has the natural connection to Nathaniel Hackett. He ran over with it. We may have to do a separate video on this, but we may have, I don't know, what do you have? 2 years with Fournette in the first year. Of course, I went to the AFC Championship game, 2017. They should have beaten that Patriots team, who ended up losing, I think, to the Eagles and Nick Foles anyway. But still, they could have, should have, would have. He had a really good rookie year, 1,000 yards, and like 9 rushing touchdowns off the top of my head. Of course, has familiarity with Hackett. I'd love to have that from that perspective. Absolutely. So, which is a great way to bring this up. So we'll use it to bring up Breece Hall. And I'll tell you how my opinion changed, not only today, but it's been kind of inching that way, is the Jets on Breece Hall. And I will tell you that people inside the building that I've had the pleasure of speaking with have continued to tell me for months, quite frankly, that Breece Hall is going to be ready for week 1 be ready, enjoy it. And I've kind of eye rolled at it, to be honest. Like, there's no way this dude's going to be ready. And if he is, you're rushing him. So I've been kind of hesitant in the belief, the people inside the building, oh yeah, Breece going to be ready. People on the outside, like, I'm not so sure. Of course, the people inside the building have the medical stuff. I don't. I'm not looking at x-rays and all kinds of God knows what of Breece Hall's knee. So I don't have that info, of course, but I've been kind of pessimistic on him, like, coming right out of the gates, because I think you want to be cautious. However, we've heard a lot of nuggets recently that he could be making a big bounce back. And here was Robert Saleh earlier today, which may give you some more positivity on Breece Hall's comeback and hell, even being ready for Week 1 Monday Night Football against the Buffalo Bills. Roll the footage.
Where's Breece in his rehab and recovery and all that stuff?
He looks good. He's one of those kids that we've had to kind of hold back from him because there's a process. You don't want to. It's weird to say it. You don't want to heal too fast in an ACL. You've got to be able to balance it out with strength. He looks strong. He looks powerful. He's learning. I mean, I'm excited for him to get back on the field. I feel like he won't need to be limited during training camp, even though we still will, just to be conscientious and cautious with him. But he looks awesome.
That sounds like he's going to be ready for Week 1. Then. You don't think he's have to be limited.
Yeah, I'm very, very optimistic on that one. I don't want to jinx it. I mean, the kid's already hitting over 22 on the GPS, so he looks freaking good. So,
a couple of things here. And again, my opinion has kind of changed on this matter on the Breece Hall front. Number one, the Robert Saleh interesting quote was, "Hey, I don't think we even need to hold him back in training camp, but we will to be cautious." Like, wow, that's a wow comment from head coach Robert Saleh, who says, we're going to do it, but we don't have to. Again, more just, man, Breece Hall is going to be back faster than we thought, number one. Number two, as a guy who literally, you can't see it on camera, of course, here in my studio, but I've got a full knee leg brace that goes from my ankle to my hip. I tore completely again, and I don't have Breece Hall's particulars. Obviously, HIPAA laws and all this other stuff. I don't have his knee chart in front of me. My specific situation, I heard it in Taekwondo doing a defrigi, which is Korean for a back spin kick. I was in the middle of my 4th degree Taekwondo black belt test. I completely effed the ACL, completely tore it, ruptured it, and there was meniscus and other ligament damage in there. So not every ACL is the same. Not everyone's rehab is the same. Not everyone's return is the same. But I'll tell you this, it's hell, man. I tore it, let's see. So March, April, May. So 3 months ago, basically, in a little change, I destroyed my knee. I had surgery earlier this month at the beginning of May. So it's like a 9 to 12 month recovery, and I'm probably not back on the Taekwondo mats for a year, according to doctors. And this is my first experience. I've never had any major surgery before this. So going through this process and then hearing Breece Hall stuff is kind of like messed with my mind a little. Now, a little bit later, obviously, Breece had his like in October in the Week 7 game against the Broncos, and we're in May. So he's had, was that October, November, December, January, February, March, April, May. So he's had 8 months essentially removed in change. They waited on the surgery, so it's not exactly 8 months, but I'm telling you, man, this is a serious business for those who don't know. Like, I know we kind of brush it off in football, like as casual fans, we're like, ACL, whatever. Players are coming back from that for no one. But actually going through it, I got to tell you, and again, Breece Hall, super athlete, me, average Joe on the couch. So sure, I'm a little bit athletic with my Taekwondo, but it's nowhere near. I'm just comparing it because I have a torn ACL right now. It's an incredibly tough situation, absolutely. And we will see. Obviously by then, so we're talking about 8 months now, it'll be 9, 10, 11. So he'll be like 11 months removed from the actual injury and then give or take for the surgery. We'll see. It sounds like the Jets are all in. And again, that's shifted my opinion on it because I said, no way he's going to be ready. But the more I think, see, hear, and consider it, it sure sounds like he will be ready to go, which would be obviously phenomenal for the New York Jets. There's nothing. Aaron Rodgers speaks for himself, obviously, as a player, but to be able to have that balance, potentially Breece Hall could take the top off of defense, is spectacular. So my opinion has changed. I believe Breece Hall is going to be ready. The good news is a lot of those Bills guys are not going to be ready. Von Miller, he recently spoke with the Bills media, and he said, I'm not going to be out no later than week 6, but I have a chance for week 1. That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. I don't even know what that means. But so Von Miller ain't going to be there, which obviously helps the Jets. I saw him week 1 last year against the Rams, and he was so dominant. He had like 2 or 3 sacks. But he had 2 or 3 sacks, and the Rams were doing everything in their power to stop him, double team him, and everything else, which opened up all of these one-on-one matchups for other guys on the Bills' defensive line. So not having him is a tremendous, I mean, that is massive, absolutely massive for that game. Again, giving you a week 1 breakdown in May, but, you know, like they've got some injuries. It seems like Breece will be ready for everything we hear. All right, let's get back into the comments here. Everyone asking how's the knee doing. That's very nice. David, Patty. Very painful. I will say very painful. I'm doing at-home physical therapy for 6 weeks, so I still got another 4 weeks-ish, something, or a little less than that. What was it, June? Actually, no, something like that. So I got like another a little less than a month to go of at-home physical therapy, and then I go to an actual practitioner for physical therapy. Super painful stuff, man. But you got to keep trudging along. The good news is, for me anyway, is I get to, you know, I can wheel my ass over here. I'm actually using crutches, but, you know, I crutch my ass over here. We can do a live show. I can still write articles. We can do all these shows. So that's a good part, and I'm blessed. Some people, like a construction worker, you can't do that without your ACL. So I'm very blessed that while painful, and I wouldn't have wished this on anyone, you know what? All things being all, God always has a purpose and a reason and everything happens for a reason. So I'm just going to try to enjoy this time, and that's what I'm trying to do. And be diligent with rehab workouts and all that. Let's go to Ronald here. Why do you think the Jets need another wideout? Ronald, before I even answer that question, it's just my opinion. What did the Jets think? The Jets thought they needed another wideout, not me. The Jets. The Jets, the one who pursued OBJ. I didn't tell them to pursue OBJ. Actually, I did. Once they started pursuing, I'm like, come on, go get OBJ. But the point is that the Jets were doing it. The Jets chased OBJ. The Jets said, hey, we need an upgrade. The Jets were aggressive in trying to get him. Then they didn't get him, and then they didn't do anything. They didn't bring anyone of significance in after the fact. They didn't go, oh, man, we didn't get OBJ. I guess we got to go get JSN. They just said, oh, okay. Like, that's a thing that, like, synapses in my brain aren't firing up. It doesn't make any sense that you thought you needed an upgrade bad enough where you were so aggressive in the OBJ pursuit, but not anything even willing to kick the tire for Hopkins. That just is weird. Why? Why? Hopkins is a better player. Why else? Again, there has to be something we don't know, and I admit that maybe that's possible, because if else, it don't make no gosh darn sense. Sure, do the Jets need other things? Linebackers, offensive linemen, God knows what, but you are a little bit you're a little bit bend the knee to whatever the situation is. Sure, would I like an all-pro offensive lineman? Well, point to the one that's available. Oh, they aren't? A linebacker, point to the all-pro that's available. Oh, he isn't? Or safety, or God knows what. Hopkins is there. It's a wide receiver, and that's a position you explored earlier in the offseason. Why wouldn't you? So, again, sure. Are there other positions that could potentially be addressed? We just talked about running back potentially, some more insurance for Breece Hall. Sure, maybe, but those guys aren't available in these droves of superstars, so you kind of have to be, again, bend the knee for what is available. In this case, Hopkins is that best free agent available. It's time for other teams to fear us. That's what I love on the schedule, because everyone says, like in the past, like, oh, Jets, easy win, but like not this year. Aaron Rodgers and all this stuff. So I like that gravitas. I like that ego. I love the whatever you want to call it of coming into some games that people are going to be like, oh, got to watch out for them. Scott says we need another running back to add to the room. I agree. I floated out some names, Zeke, Leonard Fournette, and the name you throw out here as well, Kareem Hunt. The Jets had trade talks. I can 1,000% confirm. They had trade talks with the Cleveland Browns, and the Browns said, hey, we want a 4th rounder. The Jets went, we don't want to pay a 4th rounder. And then they ultimately settled for James Robinson for a 6th, which could have been a 5th if he meant certain incentives. He never did. So they gave up a 6th for James Robinson, who's now in New England. So I like Kareem Hunt, the player. I think he's super talented. I think he'd be a great fit, provide some nice insurance, and he's still available here in late May / early June, which it will be, depending on when you're listening to the show. He's a guy I'd be interested in. Absolutely. Carmelo L. Bori's way says, Abani Kanda is a home run hitter. Yes, he is. And yes, he's super talented. We've seen the tape and exciting and a splash player. There's a reason he was available in the 5th round. Now, I think he will be talented. I think it will be interesting, but there's going to have to be some sort of a jump of some kind to expect big things. The Jets, apparently, according to everyone they're talking to, thinks he's going to be an instant impact guy, which, of course, would take some of the stress off Breece. But can a rookie come in and immediately do it? Maybe. I don't know. But again, there's a reason he was a 5th-round pick. It's not like the Jets took Jahmyr Gibbs in the 1st round, which they were exploring. They didn't do that. So I'm kind of interested. Maybe he's that guy. We'll see. Yeah, Scott, same thing. I did not like what I saw from Michael Carter last year. Was it the offensive line? Was it Michael Carter? Was it both? I don't know. But obviously the Jets don't think they need a dramatic addition because they did not make one to this backfield. Second-year wall, yeah, that's Garrett Wilson, Sauce Gardner, Breece Hall, Jermaine Johnson. God knows who. There's a lot of names that could fit that category. Carmelo, even our content creators are on IR. I never went on IR. I was back riding doing shows the day after surgery. Actually, I'm pretty sure I did a show either the day of surgery or the morning after. So very small on that. The hopeful Jet fan. Let's get to that question here. And I think we answered everything on the headline. So I love always making sure I fill my billing there. So we'll answer some questions here. What do you see Michael Carter's role being this year? I thought there was some pop in year 1. Year 2, he fizzled, flaked for whatever reason. Year 1 also, like he had inconsistencies with catching the ball to the backfield. That was frustrating. The problem is he's a smaller guy. He's like 5'8". And if you're shorter, then, man, you got to make sure that you bring something to, like Darren Sproles was short, but he was elite fast, so he could run away from somebody. Michael Carter, unfortunately, does not have that second gear, so he can't run away from anybody. And he's smaller. So he's at a deficit from that perspective. That means you got to do all the other stuff. You got to be a great pass blocker. You got to be a great receiver out of the backfield. You got to be great at some of these things. And unfortunately, he isn't great at those things. Maybe he could continue to develop. Obviously, he proved that he can't be the bell cow. When Breece Hall went down, he didn't suddenly carry the team. Quite frankly, the opposite occurred. So what will it look like this year? He'll have ops. I think they are going to be cautious with Breece, despite what they say, which means Abani Konda, Zonovan Bam Knight, Michael Carter are going to have opportunities to try to make something happen. My expectations are very low. I hope he surprises me. Their Badlands people believe he will be traded. That was on, I think, the 30 prediction pack that Joe Caporoso released over Memorial Day weekend. We'll see. But it's hard to trust him. Let's see. A lot of Abani Konda love. Yes. Happy 80th birthday, Broadway Joe. Unbelievable. I mean, I have an autograph from Joe Namath, not because I met him in person. My father ordered the Joe Namath book. It's sitting in my man cave over there, and it's autographed, which is really nice. I'd love to meet Namath one day. I've got his jersey, of course, in the closet. Who doesn't? But 80, man, it just makes me feel old, quite frankly. Not that I was able to see him play. I do have him on DVD, so I was able to see Super Bowl III a bunch of times. So I've never seen him live, of course. But it's crazy to think he's 80. Great piece by Rich Amini. I can't recommend that enough. He spent a day with Joe Namath, and it was cool to see him as a grandpa now and still getting some of the Jet questions about the jersey retirement possibly coming out for Rodgers. There was some fun stuff in there. But happy birthday to Joe. Happy birthday, like I said, to Breece Hall, Connie Carberg, Leger Duzable. So many Jet people today, which I was unaware of till today. Well, I knew about Breece and Namath, but I didn't remember about everybody else. D-Hop is still coming. It's just a smoke screen, so the price isn't driven up. Very possible. Very possible. We'll see. DeAndre had this weird tweet today, which kind of hinted at it. Schefter said he's going to take a while to pick his next spot. We'll see. Let's go to McKenzie. How do you feel about safety Adrian Amos? He's on the market. He is, but I will say this again: the Jordan Whitehead move earlier locks in his roster spot. You traded for Chuck Clark; he's his starter. And then your other guys, I really like Tony Adams. He was an undrafted free agent that made it last year. Trey Dean out of Florida is another undrafted free agent from this year the Jets really like, gave some nice money to. They still have Ashton Davis, who they like. They got Will Parks on the team. I just don't think they're going to go get that guy. And I know that's going to disappoint a lot of fans, McKenzie. But again, the Kevin Byards out there, the Buda Bakers, the Jets just feel comfortable with their room, more comfortable than the outside world field. So I do not see that coming. I get the Packers connection, all this other stuff. I don't see that happening. Tony Adams is the man. Staff loves him. That's correct. Yep. We're hoping to get Gibbs. Again, I can confirm that. We did a draft story after the draft. I reached out to some Jets people. 100%. That is true. The Jets were trying to get Gibbs. Did not pan out during the draft live. And then Michael Carter fumbling. That's another issue. Correct. Why not Henry? We did write a piece about that. I think Bleach Report first floated the trade out there. Jets make the most sense. Derrick Henry. Again, I would do it for a couple reasons. I would do it because, again, last year your deal, again, you're chasing all in, number one. Number two, you could forever keep both guys fresh, both with Breece and Henry, which would be awesome. And then another guy to fear for opponents. And if you're going all in, YOLO, why does it matter? But I don't know if they're going to do that. I certainly do. 73, Klecko 73. Does anyone think Michael Clemens is going to do some damage this year? Yes. I think he's going to be a beast. Sounds like they're going to play him. I did not get to hear all the alternative press conferences today. I heard Saleh, but I know Ulbrich spoke today. Brant Boyer, special teams coordinator, Jeff Ulbrich, defense coordinator, Dwayne Brown, a bunch of players. I've not gotten into all that sound yet. I'll do that either late tonight or early tomorrow to catch in on all that. But I did see the quote from Ulbrich that Clemens is at like 290 plus right now. So a lot of inside play coming up for him, although he'll be versatile. He'll play both in and out. But yeah, I think he could do some damage. He's one of my favorites. He's certainly one of my favorites there. Let me make sure we didn't miss anything else from the Jets OTAs today, which was great. I love these media OTAs. They're great. Again, we have mandatory minicamp about 2 weeks. We have another Jets OTA media live next week. Let me see if I missed anything else here. Zach Olsen had an iffy day for those who care about that. Not great from Zach. Was kind of indecisive. Garrett Wilson had a good day. That shouldn't be surprising. Garrett Wilson is a special talent. Absolutely. Breece Hall, one of his quotes was, I feel, like myself again, which was really, really interesting, which I like. And again, hopefully he is. Randall Cobb had some love today. He had a presser today. Trying to see if I'm missing any quotes, going through the Jets beat reporters to see if we missed anything else today. Again, Aaron Rodgers limited. Denzel Mims, or Denzel Mims stands. Denzel Mims, quote unquote, competing his butt off, has a chance to make the roster. Corey Davis, I forgot to bring that one up. The reason he isn't at OTAs is he's having a child. And again, more love from Robert Saleh on Corey Davis saying, he's a great teammate and he's going to be here. So it certainly seems that way. And that was it. So I did want to get to that one. So again, Corey Davis is out of OTAs because of a kid coming through. So we'll keep an eye out for that as well. All right, any final questions here? Let me see this. Amazing year, fellas, coming up. We will see. What'd Zach do? Again, he was just iffy, inconsistent. I don't have the numbers in front of me. Probably Zach Rosenblatt or somebody has that. You guys can check that out. But apparently iffy day at practice from what I heard. Hopeful Jet fan would love to see Ashton Davis get some ops. He has great ball skills and speed. If he has improved his pursuit angles, he could be good. Yeah, those were horrible in the past. And Ashton Davis, in theory, is perfect as the center fielder, ball hawk guy, former track star. He would make a lot of sense, but he has not transitioned well. We'll see if that comes to fruition at some point. But I do like Ashton Davis, the player. Well, thanks, everybody, for joining us here late on a Wednesday. We appreciate it. Again, make sure on your way out, you like the video. Hit subscribe down below as we get closer and closer to 5,000 subscribers. We hit 1 million views earlier this week. Let's see if we can get to 5,000 subs. We're working on some big guests, guys. So we've got a big one coming up on Monday. I'll tell you, it's someone inside the Jets building is coming in on Monday. That is scheduled on the show. We're supposed to have a Jets media member coming on also next week. So some big-time guests coming. Guys, make sure you stay right here so you don't miss any of them. They're fantastic. They're great, and we always appreciate the support. So like the video, hit subscribe. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you guys next time right here on the channel. Peace out.